My name is Michaeline Shuman. I serve as the director of the Career Development Center, and I have the good fortune of knowing all three of our young alumni panelists who were able to join us this afternoon. So I'm going to ask each of them to introduce themselves with their name, what their major was at Susquehanna, and what their first destination was after graduation. And then I will ask a few lead-off questions, but as soon as you are ready to ask your questions, please use the chat and keep them coming. So Brooke, if you'd like to start with introducing yourself, that'd be great.
Sure. So hi everyone, my name is Brooke, and when I went to Susquehanna, I was a double major in biology and public policy, specializing in healthcare policy. I also had two minors, one in biochemistry and the other in Spanish. And currently I am in medical school in West Virginia.
Thank you so much. James, you're next on my screen.
I can't top that. She had like 4 majors, man. Let's see. So I'm James Norman. Hi, everybody. I graduated in 2018 from Susquehanna University with a degree in business administration and management. My first landing spot after graduation was a ratings agency called Moody's Investor Service down in the World Trade Center. And I transitioned in January. So I did that for about 1.5 years. And then in January, I transitioned to a startup called the Guarantors. And they're more of a real estate insurance, tech company. And a lot of the skills that I had that I was using at Moody's in terms of, learning how to maneuver through insurance, I'm doing that here at the Guarantors now.
Thank you so much, James. Kevin?
Hi, I'm Kevin Ryan. I graduated in 2017. And after graduation, I spent the summer of 2017 working at a beverage company called Body Armor in their sales department before I started my first year of law school at the Elizabeth Howell School of Law at Pace University here in White Plains, New York. And I've been there ever since. At SU, I studied history as a major, and I double minor in sociology and legal studies.
Thank you so much. So for my audience of prospective students and family members, you can see that our young alumni have a diverse array of experiences. They came from different academic backgrounds. James went right into starting his career, and after a short stint of working, Kevin jumped into law school, and Brooke is currently a medical school student. So we already have questions popping in. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the audience questions. And then if we need to, I will start with some of my other questions. The question that came in first is, what are your top 2 suggestions for gaining as much as possible from Susquehanna and its opportunities? Who would like to jump in on that? So what are your best 2 tips for gaining as much as possible from Susquehanna?
That's a good question.
I can jump in on that. I think number one is one of the most remarkable things about Susquehanna is your ability to be involved in extracurriculars and really making those such strengths for learning outside the classroom, developing your resume, building professional relationships and personal relationships. Without a doubt, for me, when I look back at my experience at Susquehanna, I think most fondly of my extracurricular activities. Those were so important to me. And I think it's really important to a lot of the students. And then my other tip too is getting to know your professors and the staff at the university, talking with them about your career options, because so much is changeable when you're in college. So much happens. So your vision for the future might change too. And you're talking to people who have been in different universities, different positions, different points in their lives, and you're just trying to figure it all out. And they're a great resource to talk to just to figure out what you want to do with your life. And those are my top 2 points.
I agree. I would, to piggyback off of what he said, I think joining many different clubs and organizations, Susquehanna has a wide array of different, organizations that you can join, whether it's, student government, which I was a part of, whether it's, Greek life, whether it's, a club that has to do with your major, such as, maybe the accounting club or, the finance club or anything. There's something there, maybe 1 or 2 or even 3 things or clubs or organizations that'll definitely, fit your niche. And, joining those, feeling like, your individuality is taken into account and it's really important. It's something that Susquehanna really prides itself on. I know once I came to campus, it wasn't really too much of a was a culture shock, but it was something that I was ready for. And I'm the type of person that like I like putting myself out there. So I think, you know, me joining clubs and organizations just helped me, you know, in terms of growth throughout. I think also Kevin had a great point for number two in terms of, you know, getting to know everybody. You know, Susquehanna is a place where you walk through campus and, you know, you say hi to everyone. You start to familiarize yourself with people, face recognition before even name, you know, just saying hi, you know, letting somebody know that, hey, like you matter, you know, those little things that you do, it might not seem like much, but, you know, down the road, you're, you know, forging and building lots of relationships. And so, you know, not to be long-winded, but I think, you know, networking with as many people as you can is definitely great because you don't know what you can do for them down the line, what they can do for you. Just building those relationships, you know, as soon as you get on campus are really important.
Brooke, would you add anything to that?
Yeah, sure. So I totally agree with what both Kevin and James have said. My number one that I personally learned pretty early on at Susquehanna was to go in with an open mind. I went in knowing I wanted to be a biology major, and that's all I knew. And before I knew it, I was a double major, double minor, and in a ton of activities and stuff. So just keeping an open mind to things that you're interested in. You might end up switching your major. You might end up creating a brand new major that Susquehanna has never had before. There's a lot of people who double major, even triple major. People pick up minors like it's nothing. So I think Susquehanna is a really great opportunity for students to kind of figure out exactly who they are and what types of things they're interested in. And it's pretty easy to be able to balance different like types of workload. Like I was in biology, but then I was also in public policy, like the political science realm of things. And I was able to manage that, which I wouldn't have guessed would have been the case for me going into Susquehanna. And then the other, like both James and Kevin said, is to just be involved. There are a lot of amazing opportunities and clubs at Susquehanna. One of my favorite things was being involved in research, which I got involved in literally the first week that I was at Susquehanna, and I stayed involved in with all 4 years, which was pretty unique. And I was also involved in the volleyball club and a bunch of other clubs, which allowed me to meet new people, make those connections that were previously talked about, and also kind of have fun and enjoy Susquehanna to its fullest.
Thank you all so much. And just a reminder to our guests, feel free to add your questions into the chat whenever you'd like. So for my young alumni panelists, now I'd like you to go back a few years and think about what was your favorite memory or one of your favorite memories in or outside of the classroom at Susquehanna?
It's so hard to choose.
I have
Yeah,
one.
for real.
I really like one of our Susquehanna traditions is our Thanksgiving dinner. Not necessarily one in particular, I just love them all so much. So for those of you that aren't familiar, so our Susquehanna staff and faculty and everyone on campus is invited to serve the students Thanksgiving dinner right before you leave for Thanksgiving break. And it's just a fun time for the students to get all dressed up and kind of like enjoy Thanksgiving dinner served by the faculty members and kind of see the faculty members in a different light. Some of them bring their children, and their children will bring you mashed potatoes to the table and stuff. And it's just kind of a fun experience outside of the classroom.
I would have to say that my favorite experience was during my senior year. It was basically like a senior celebration, like in the middle of the year, spring semester, January, February, I forget what senior convocation it was, that's what it was. And it was during our last semester. My friends and I all got a table together, and it was just really nice to sit down with each other and just really embrace the fact that our time together was coming to an end. And we had a great time laughing. So we had a great tables near us, and just really celebrating how far we've come even before graduation and how close our friendship has developed that year. It was really great to really sit back and realize that we were in this transitional point in our college careers, and really to begin our last semester with people that you really care about and thinking about the future. That's probably one of my favorite memories.
Senior convocation is a very important part of one of our traditions, much like our Thanksgiving dinner. How about you, James?
I would say, I was trying to figure out which one was my favorite, but I would say one of my favorites, and I'm not saying this to butter you up, Michaeline, because I worked in the Career Center, but I would say one of my favorite memories of Susquehanna was working as a career ambassador, only because, well, not only, there's many reasons, but not only did I grow as a professional, but as an individual as well. I came in first week Susquehanna, move in week. I came in the Career Center and say, hey, do you guys have any opportunities, things like that. And, you guys, steered me in the right direction and kind of, figured out my qualities, my characteristics, where I'll best be fit. And career ambassador, I felt like was the best choice because, I got to interact with a lot of people, which I love doing. I got to help people with, interview skills, resume preparation, interview preparation, things like that. And just, having the whole team around me, having some of my peers and, in my year level and below me, I think having you guys in the Career Center as a guide and as someone I could bounce ideas off of, I think that was great. You gave us free range to run with whatever ideas we had, and I think that gave me a chance to also meet professionals who came in and to the career fairs and actually as representatives of their companies and of their business, and I got to meet them firsthand. So I think that helped me grow in the professional aspect. But you guys were also there to talk to on a personal level. I could come in there. I always walked in the Career Center and just chatted up with you guys whenever I could. We had team parties and events at the end of every semester, things like that. So I think that was great because we kind of formed kind of like a family bond. And I still to this day, keep in touch. You have, I'm at the forefront, of your mind when you think of events like this. I still keep in touch with a lot of the students that I worked with. And then as I got older, as I got to become a junior and a senior, I kind of took like a more managerial role, which kind of taught me things in terms of guiding the new career ambassadors. So I think that whole experience kind of molded me into the partially into the professional I am now. And I think getting those hard and soft skills when I when I became a career ambassador really helped me. So that's one of my favorite memories.
Thank you so much, James. You warm my heart every time you talk about it. But I think that's a good distinction because all of you talked about some different types of experiences, both in and outside of the classroom, that allowed you to develop skills that will serve you well now. So questions are starting to come in. I do want to get to some of our student questions.
Okay.
So for those of you who had double majors, could you talk about how you were able to navigate a double major, or in your case, Brooke, like a double major and a double minor?
So fortunately, in my case, my coursework kind of sort of overlapped. So I was a biology major, then my other major was public policy with an emphasis on healthcare policy. So a lot of those courses overlapped with my bioethics and those types of courses. And then biochemistry was a minor, so that kind of also tied into everything else. And then my oddball was Spanish, which ties into my go abroad experience because I wanted to go somewhere that would challenge me to speak another language, which is why I picked up that as a minor. But back on how you double major. So it's not that difficult. You just go to the registrar and say you want a double major. I would say the trickiest part is when you're developing your schedule is being able to manage both of them and making sure that you're staying on track with both the majors, which is definitely doable. I mean, I know people who triple majored and were able to navigate all of that. It's just being aware of the fact that you need to hit all of those requirements, which are set out before you obviously would make your final decision about whether you want to be a double major or not. But another really great resource that I utilize is all of your professors. I talked to the professor who developed the public policy, healthcare policy program so much. I felt like I was bothering him because I wanted to make sure that it wasn't me being naive, thinking that I could really manage both of them. So I kind of planned out my whole schedule with him before I even committed to it and that type of thing. But it depends on what type of double major you want. If you want biology and chemistry, that'll be a lot easier than if you want to do business and science. But I think the hardest part is just managing your schedule, utilizing those classes that double count and count towards both majors, because that's kind of a way to make the whole coursework a lot easier on yourself. But I think it's really just about time management, figuring out your classes and kind of making sure that your schedule stays on top of what you need to be.
So Brooke raised a good point there, that with working with your academic advisor and how some courses will count for both majors, good academic planning and thinking of it through with your advisor will allow you to do that. Another question came in that's connected to that I want to address quickly before we move on to our next one. The question is, what about a double major that doesn't overlap? And the example was a music and biomedical sciences. I know that we just recently had our first grad who was that combination of a music and a pre-health double major. And again, a lot of it is just good academic planning, working with your academic advisors. So if you're a double major or a triple major, you will have multiple advisors. You would have an academic advisor from each of those departments, and they would work very closely with you, as Brooke mentioned, as well as with one another to ensure that you're staying on track. The ultimate responsibility is of course on you, but you have an online form that we call our degree audit where you can track your progression towards completion. And you can see where, oh, this semester I might need to take an extra class, or, oh, I'm right on track and I'm good to go. I will easily finish. All of our academic programs are developed to be successful in 4 years. Our goal is to get you through and successful in 4 years. So I hope that helps. I'm going to ask a little bit of a different question, and then we might come back to talking more about majors as well. But one of the questions that came in was, how did you find your first job? And I know for two of you, you went on to graduate school, so perhaps we'll ask you that question thinking about how did you get into graduate school. But James, could you tell us how you found your first job? I think you have a good story.
So my first job, thanks. I think it was kind of different in the sense that I got an internship right out of high school, my senior year of high school, summer of my senior year. I had an internship at Moody's. And so when once that internship was over, start college. But what I did was I took the, advice that, everyone told me in high school about networking. It sounds so cliche. Hey, you have to network, but it actually is really beneficial, and it's not about networking like, every other week you're hitting somebody up, just checking in, asking, hey, do you have any opportunities? But just forging that relationship, if there's anything that you learn about the person that you're in contact with, whether it's their interests, things that they like, fields that they work in, if you come across an article or you come across any news or anything that has to do with their interest, you can maybe shoot it to them. Hey, this made me think about you, blah blah blah. Just letting people know that you remember little things about them. Though that's networking in itself. It's not always asking for an opportunity up front. And I think I had did that. First, you have to obviously, your work ethic has to speak for itself. You have to gain a good reputation on, okay, this person is reliable on doing their work. And then you have to also show that, you're putting in effort to keep that relationship alive. So I think throughout my, summers in college, I was afforded the opportunity to keep coming back to Moody's. And then they offered me a full-time position. But what I would say for, someone is I would definitely recommend internship experience. That's one of the key ways you get offered full-time. A lot of times when you're a senior, you're applying to many jobs. However, it makes it a little easier if you've had internship experience because you have a higher chance of maybe getting that full-time offer. But what I would say is, whatever your major is, whatever field you're in, try to get as much internship experience as you can, because you want to learn if you actually like the job or not. Getting that hands-on learning is definitely one of the best ways to realize that. You can learn as much as you can in the classroom, but being on the job is, way different. So you get to learn what you like and what you don't like. And then when it comes time to actually, make those decisions and get those offers, you can, better make that decision. So I would say in terms of how to go about getting a, job out of college, definitely network. The Career Center has, they put on many career fairs. They even take us to Penn State. Being that Susquehanna is a small school, we do have our own career fairs. But, we also are afforded the opportunity to go to a bigger, campus and get a bigger, wider range of companies in many different fields. So take advantage of those opportunities. Always, keep your face in the Career Center. That's the main hub you want to go to actually get those opportunities. And they're going to be, having your name at the forefront as long as you're in contact with them. And then I say just the simple, applying everywhere, the law of numbers, the more you apply, the more you'll get there. But definitely just build up your academic background, build up your internship experience as much as you can. And, definitely also build a LinkedIn page. Like a lot of professionals are also, looking on there to contact, college seniors and things like that. So just having your whole professional acumen, at its highest point, knowing what you're talking about, having that experience to back you up on your resume, things like that, having people that can speak to your skills. I think all of that will, have you well equipped to find a job in any field, once you get out. But definitely stay active in the Career Center, and they'll guide you as best they can anyway to any field that you're trying to get into. So that's some of my advice.
I like it because James is going right back into his career ambassador mode and giving you all the advice, all the good career coaching. So one thing I wanted to just point out from some of his remarks, and then I'm going to turn it over to you, Kevin, to talk about your process of going on to professional school. James mentioned the importance of internships and how that helped him land his first job. We know nationally that across all colleges and universities, 50% of college graduates complete one or more internships. One of the things we're most proud of at Susquehanna is that over 90% of each of the past 6 graduating classes have completed at least one, if not more. So we really beat the national average by a significant percentage, and I think that does make a big difference. Now let's talk a little bit about if your first destination might want to be grad school or professional school. Kevin, do you want to share about your process of going on to law school?
Sure. So I'm one of those crazy people that knew I wanted to be a lawyer for years and years and years and years. So the unique thing about law school is that there's no one set destination, and it's kind of like a choose your own journey kind of thing. I know people that were like me, were history majors in college. I know people that were music majors in college. You can do anything. There's no one set destination that can lead you to law school or professional school. There might be recommended courses, and it might be a little bit different, obviously, for medical school, so I can only speak from the law school perspective. But you can kind of choose your own journey. So I went into college with a couple things in mind. One, confirming that I wanted to be a lawyer. 2, setting myself up to be prepared to go to law school by getting that exposure to everything that I could. So I took advantage of extracurriculars. I was on the school's mock trial team. I worked for the Arlen Adams Center for Law and Society, which is fantastic because it gives college students the rare opportunity to intern in a legal field and get the experience that many college students don't get the opportunity to do so. And I think that is one of the strongest experiences that I had, was being placed in the Snyder County and Union County judges chambers with Judge Shally. I was in court every day. I was helping about 2 days, it was about 10 or 12 hours a week. I was helping out with arraignments. I was there at permanency hearings. I was there at jury trials, bench trials, conferences. It was really great to get that exposure to the legal system. And at that point, I was like, okay, this is what I know I want to do. So I took advantage of pretty much every opportunity I possibly could. I remember Michaeline was a godsend helping me write my personal statement. So there are professional people at the university. There is a pre-law advisor that helps with all your crazy questions at any time. Michaeline was, like I said before, incredible at helping me with my personal statement because I had no direction, and she really helped get me through it. So basically, taking advantage of every experience and every resource I had really got me to graduate law school. I just graduated this past weekend. So it's great looking back.
And congratulations, Kevin. It was a pleasure working with you. I remember it fondly. So, Brooke, you're representing the pre-health field. How was it? Anything different for you, or anything you would add?
So I kind of had like a roundabout-ish way of getting to where I am. So I went into Susquehanna convinced I wanted to be a vet. And I remember sitting in my first cell biology class, and I loved it. I was fascinated by it, and I was like, I cannot get enough of this. I don't want to be a vet. I thought about being a dentist for a while, and I was like, I don't really want to be a dentist. I want to learn about the whole human body and everything that I can possibly learn about it. So that's when I solidified that I wanted to be a bio major. And then also during my first semester, they put me in a government, I forget exactly what it was, but some government class. And I fell in love with that too. So then I had this moment of, do I want to be a doctor or do I want to be a lawyer? I really have no idea. So that's why I took up both majors, trying to keep both paths open in case I decided one way or the other later down the line. Obviously, I ended up choosing medicine, and I think that was definitely the right choice for me. But I think having that public policy background helped me get into medical school because it set me apart from other students. Because a lot of medical students are bio majors, chemistry majors, biochemistry majors, that type of thing, which is definitely helpful for medical school. One of my friends was a business major, and she often struggles with just the basic sciences in medical school. So having those bio courses are helpful. But having knowledge in a different field also made me unique, and I think was one of the reasons that I was able to get accepted, because medical school is extremely competitive. Another thing is I decided to go straight into medical school right after Susquehanna, which was a little stressful because if any of you are familiar, you have to take the MCAT before applying to medical school. So I ended up taking the MCAT while I was still a student at Susquehanna, on top of studying for my coursework, which was super overwhelming, and then applying to over 50 medical schools while I was still in Susquehanna. So it was really overwhelming. That's why a lot of students take gap years, and gap years are totally normal and fine. And I'm sure it's the same with law school. It's kind of a way to like gather yourself, make sure you want to do what you want to do, get that internship if you need it. But for me, I was ready to just start and get on with medical school, because I had all 4 years of Susquehanna kind of confirming that I really did want to go into medicine. I did a lot of research. There's a local hospital by Susquehanna. It's a little bit of a drive, but I did over 100 volunteer hours with patient contact in that hospital, which was a pretty cool experience, and also allowed me to further confirm that I wanted to go into medicine. So.
Thank you so much. So we're going to shift gears. Another question that came in on the chat, and for everyone who's participating, feel free to add your questions in on the chat as well. The question is about work study. Did you work on campus? How did you get that job? Maybe share a little bit about that experience. Who'd like to go first?
I'll go. So looking back, I had many jobs at Susquehanna, several which were all at once. I think at one point my senior year I was like at 5 jobs. I don't know how that ended up happening, but it did. So my first job is one that I look back regularly. It was actually at Trax. So at the time, I believe I was looking for a work study position, and I saw that there was an application open on the school's job website. So I made an application, made a resume, which needed a lot of work afterwards, but you know what? I was 18, it's fine. We all learned how to make resumes afterwards, and interviewed with the student managers at Trax and got hired as an event staff member there, started working there for different events. That led me to get to know Beth Winger, who is the student activities coordinator and one of my favorite people from Susquehanna. And from there, she got me in touch with a job at the info desk in the student activities office as well. So I used to help see people going on tours, answer some of their questions, help out with different things in student activities. And from there, it was really my connections that got me different jobs. People would vouch for me. I would speak to them, and I wound up being a resident assistant, a student ambassador with the admissions office. I got into the internship with Judge Shali, and and I worked for IT. So, you know what, there's plenty of opportunities, especially to diversify your resume. Really getting the opportunity to try something different out. You would ask me, like, at 16, was I ever going to work for an IT office? No. I learned a lot, though, about computers, though. And you know what? I feel a lot more confident every time my computer shuts down. So the experiences are super important. So there are plenty of jobs on campus, and it really helps just asking questions. Where do you think is a good place to work? What is suitable for my needs? And really taking advantage of the resources available is fantastic, because you could wind up with 5 or 6 jobs. Who knows?
That's a great story, Kevin. I didn't know that you started out in your first year working at Trax, our on-campus nightclub for students. That's awesome.
I've worked there all 4 years.
How about you, Brooke?
So I'm actually a lot like Kevin. I think by the time I was done, I had roughly 5 jobs. But I don't know where it all started. It kind of all just hit at once, I feel like. But after my first full year, so I was now a sophomore, I was fascinated with bio. I loved bio. And so I decided that I wanted to be a teacher's assistant. So I went and asked all the professors that I had had and that I enjoyed their classes and that I felt like I would be able to be a good tutor and teacher's assistant for. And I was able to make a lot of great connections, and I became a teacher's assistant from every semester starting the beginning of sophomore year. So I was that pretty much all the way through Susquehanna. I was also a tour guide, which I absolutely love. That was probably one of my favorite jobs, which makes me super excited to be on this call with all of you guys and kind of share my experiences because like Kevin and James, I love Susquehanna. I'm really passionate about it, and I really love to share that with prospective students. I was also a lab tech basically for one of the professors. So the professors have to put a lot of work into setting up the labs for chemistry and biology labs. So oftentimes they can hire a student to help them set up the labs and make sure that everything's in line before the lab starts. So I was that for a while. I did a lot of cleanup and setup for different labs, even if I wasn't involved in the labs. I think that's about it. I don't know. I felt like I had a lot. I can't keep them all straight anymore, but you can definitely get involved if you're looking for them. They're really easy to find.
So before I let James talk a little bit more about other work that he did on campus, can you clarify, this came in on the chat, what all is involved with being a teacher's assistant? Because I don't think that's typical at all undergraduate institutions.
Yeah, so I can really only speak for the sciences, which I think is the main department that you'll find teacher's assistants at. So they kind of label it as two different things. They have teacher's assistants and model students, which essentially are the same thing, but it depends on if you're helping out in a lab setting or in a lecture setting. So I did both. So what that means is if I'm in the lecture setting, oftentimes I would be taking notes, sitting there, paying attention to the class. And then once a week, I would hold a review session for all of the students. And I'd kind of be the student connection to the professor. Obviously, the students can come to the professor, but a lot of the time it's easier to come to a student who's been through the course and is able to explain it on a level that you might better understand. So that was kind of my role there. So holding weekly review sessions, taking notes, providing notes to students who may have been absent, that type of thing. And then in the lab setting, it's kind of making sure that the lab's set up, asking any questions students might have. You have more of an active role. You're kind of like a second teacher, basically. So you kind of walk around the lab and make sure that everybody's safe and doing what they need to be doing and answer any questions. Yeah, so it kind of varies. It also varies based on the lab. So if you have a chemistry lab, it's going to be a lot more setup and cleanup versus if you have a biology lab, it might be taking students out to the field to gather samples and things like that.
James, outside of being a career ambassador, what other jobs did you hold on campus?
To be honest, I think that was my only job on campus. I think one other job that I did maybe for a couple months, I think I helped, I think the girls soccer coach record the games and everything. And I think Akshay, he was my fraternity brother, and he did a lot with the sports teams. Mm-hmm. And he asked me if I can, come help out, and recommended my name to the coach. And, once again, that's, more networking, word of mouth, and just extending yourself. Like Kevin said, we have a portal on the school website where you can go. They have all of the school work study jobs, for cash jobs. All of that is, in one spot. You submit your resume, you go in for an interview. It's like, any regular job that you would get outside of school. But I think my only job other than that was career ambassador. And that lasted me literally from my first month, freshman year, to my last month senior year. It was like a year-round job. And we did many different, jobs under that umbrella of career ambassador. But I think I had a lot of experience in that, whether it was, being a guide for the career fair participants, or whether it was guiding students, or, going in and doing presentations for professors for their classes, or different clubs and organizations about what the Career Center does. It gave me a good platform to be able to, to improve my presentation and speaking skills and things like that. So under that whole umbrella, I did many different things, but I think career ambassador was my only job. I know Brooke and Kevin had many jobs, and they make me seem like I was behind the eight ball a little bit. But yeah, that was my only job on campus. Yeah.
No, you did plenty on campus. My goodness.
Yeah.
So I think one thing that's important to note too about this is that James just mentioned that we have this platform, this online platform. It's called Riverhawk Recruiter. And as incoming first year students, you get an invitation to set up your profile there. It's very similar to a professional social media profile like you would have on LinkedIn, or maybe you have now as a social profile on Instagram or Facebook or something similar. And that allows you, like James mentioned, to have access to all of those jobs. It's also a platform now that we can share information with you. So right now, directly, if you're a certain major and there's a job that might align with your major, we can target you because of your major to maybe be a teaching assistant. And generally speaking, all of the faculty and staff post the new jobs for the incoming class in early August. So even before you move to campus, you could go through that process, like Kevin mentioned earlier, of setting up your application and uploading your resume and getting your application in before you step foot on campus. Many of our incoming first year students like to wait until they get to campus, and during orientation we do a workshop on how to find on-campus employment. And then some students even wait until second semester because they want to get themselves grounded academically, kind of just figure out campus life. Throughout the year, there are jobs posted that students can apply for. And I appreciate what James said and what Brooke said as well, because sometimes it's just a faculty or staff person or even a friend that mentions, hey, there's a job opportunity. You might be interested in, filming basketball games in the winter, for example. And so throughout the academic year, students can apply for jobs. It is more common to have one or two jobs, similar to what James described. Kevin and Brooke were kind of, rock stars and went a little crazy. We do limit the number of hours students can work. So any student that's working on campus can only have up to 20 hours a week in all of those combinations of jobs. So that most of our students, the average number of hours they work is 6 to 8, which means they're going to an office, 2 or 3 days a week to contribute to the work in that office. But don't feel like you're going to spend all your time at all of these jobs on campus. So I want to circle back as the questions are still coming in on chat. There was a question about creating a major that Susquehanna does not have. And I don't know if any of our young alumni panelists contemplated a self-design major or have any experience with that. If not, I can at least give a brief answer. Did any of you have any experience with thinking about that? Okay. So we do have a program where if you don't have the right combination of majors that you're most interested in, you can work with faculty advisors to create your own major. I was on a similar panel not too long ago with a student who was also just finished up law school, Mary Beth. Remember Mary Beth, Kevin? And she did a self-design major. So it's working with academic advisors to pull classes from different departments to create a major that really will allow you to explore your passions in the classroom. Most of our students who pursue that know when they come in first or second year that they'd like to do something creative like that and start working on that pretty early on. But there's a form that you use from their registrar's office, and frequently once students have those conversations with faculty, they realize, oh, maybe there is a minor that would help me do what I want to do. But on any given year, we have a handful of students that do create their own major and graduate with what we call a self-design major. If you want to keep asking questions in the chat, please feel free. And while I wait to see if any other questions come in on the chat, I'm going to ask our panelists to think for a minute about what faculty member or staff mentor had the greatest impact on your experience at Susquehanna, and if you can tell a little bit of the story behind them and why you consider them a mentor while you were at Susquehanna. Who's ready?
I can go. So the connection that I made quickest and kind of kept throughout all of my time at Susquehanna was with one of the biology faculty, Dr. Tammy Tobin. She was assigned to be my academic advisor for my biology degree. So I had to meet up with her like the first week of school or something real early on to begin with. So she was kind of the first professor that I had like a private conversation with, which I think is why she's kind of the one that I clung on to and always went to for advice and stuff. She also had her own lab that she did her own research in. So I asked her very early on if I could help her with her lab, which then just kind of solidified our relationship. And I was working with her on a weekly, almost daily basis. And then she was the one that was able to recommend me and put me in contact with different faculty members to be a model student and to be a teacher's assistant and that type of thing. So she really helped me throughout the whole way. When I was applying to medical school, I knew I asked her a million questions. And even though she had never guided anyone through medical school before, she was on Google all the time trying to help me and figure it out and put me in connection with different alumni and different faculty who might be able to answer my questions. So I saw her practically every day. We still email back and forth and Facebook message back and forth and stuff. So yeah, the connections at Susquehanna are pretty awesome.
I think, I was very fortunate at Susquehanna to have such incredible mentors all across the board. But I think my first connection that I think is the most important was with Beth Winger. She was one of my bosses at Traxxas Student Nightclub, and she was really fundamental in my development at Susquehanna. She gave me the opportunity to be a manager at the nightclub during my sophomore year. So a little bit background, Trax is a student-run nightclub. So students staff it, some professional staff oversee it, but it's all students that work there and oversee the different events that happen. So I actually served as the operations manager. And it was basically my first professional role. During the nights of the events, I would supervise the staff. I was in charge of keeping track of the payroll. I would help out with hiring. I would help set up for events. Would help with the purchasing. So it was a really great experience to have a woman as incredible as Beth, or as we like to call her mom, really help out with a lot of the things she did. And, on a personal level, she was always there to talk to me. I mean, for me, my sophomore year was very difficult. I had a lot going on, and I always went to her with a lot of my problems. And even though she was like my boss and stuff, she was there for me personally, and always wanted for me to have the utmost success, and was a great mentor all 4 years. And I'm so appreciative of everything she's done for me, and is just a wonderful, wonderful person who I hope you all get the opportunity to get to know. If not her, a wonderful person just like her, and there's plenty of them at Susquehanna.
Yeah, I agree. Beth is great. She's one of my favorite people at Susquehanna too. I think, and thinking about it, there's so many people who've had a crazy impact. You have people like Michaeline, you have people like Dean Crocker and Dr. Stacy, who are like the motherly figures. They keep you, on the straight and narrow. You guys have your fun, but they're there to kind of guide you through your journey at Susquehanna in whatever capacity that is. But I think one person that, kind of took a liking to me and vice versa, her name was Keisha Moore in the Career Center. She kind of played like the big sister role, kind of. So I have 3 sisters, and so it was nothing to just add on another one, So I feel like I was like what Kevin said about Beth. I was able to come to her about things going on as a career ambassador, things going on in my fraternity, things going on in my other clubs, anything personal that I was dealing with, relationships, family things. I can talk to her about anything, and when I came to her office, it was kind of like a safe haven to just, be myself and not really have a filter, and just, say whatever I want and be comfortable to the fact that, she would keep it between us, So I think, that relationship that we formed from my first year, up to today, we're still tight, we still keep in touch, and she's one of those that I have a relationship with, after graduation, and I think that'll be one of our lifelong relationships. She checks in on me. I like to see how she's doing. And she's just someone who I hold close to me because I can talk to her about anything, and I never had to sugarcoat anything, and she never sugarcoated anything with me. So I think that was a special relationship that I formed at Susquehanna.
Thank you all so much. And just a reminder to anyone who has joined us a little bit late, please use the chat to ask any questions you'd like our young alumni panelists to answer. They're happy to take any question, anything that you're interested in learning about their experience at Susquehanna or why they chose Susquehanna. So perhaps that's a good question while I wait to see what else comes into the chat. If you can think back to when you were a high school senior, similar to all of our guests on the Zoom today, what made you decide that SU was the place for your undergraduate experience?
I could start. I think, being from New York City, big city, I wanted a change, and I didn't want it forever, but I knew that, 4 years would be, the perfect amount of time to go somewhere else, branch out, get to know, different setting, different cultures. And so, looking when you're applying for college, you hear about the big college names, the state universities, things like that. But what you can kind of overlook are the small, liberal arts schools, the schools that, really you never hear of. But, one day I came across Susquehanna. I think my guidance counselor told me about it, and I kind of did some research on College Board. And I remember just every day for the rest of senior year, just going back and looking at the campus, how beautiful it was. At least College Board made it look nice. Not just playing, it looks nice in real life as well. But so I kind of, I knew that I wanted to get out the house, get away from New York, but not too far. So 3.5 hours. It was 3.5 hours away from my house, and I think that was the perfect amount of time. So my parents can't just pop up on me, any weekend, but they're not too far. And I saw, it was in a small town. I've never heard of Selinsgrove, so that was something that, the fact that I've never heard of it, that, that made me want to even, go even more and check it out. And so I think what solidified my decision was, going to campus. One of my college counselor for Susquehanna was, his name was Isaac Moore. And, we met, he introduced himself to me on social media. It was, it was pretty cool to get recruited on social media. And I came and visited, he spoke to me and my mom, President Lemons, who was the past president. He came, he introduced himself to me. I think later that night when I got back home, I had an email from President Lemons personally, sitting in my inbox, just saying, hey, I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you picked Susquehanna. My mom enjoyed the campus. She liked how friendly and family oriented everyone was. And I think that was, the deciding point, right there. I wanted to go, but I knew that, my mom taking a liking to it. And I know I put her through so much with the college process. So, seeing her actually finally giving me some approval and saying that, I really can appreciate this, this campus. I think that's what made me choose it. But I did want a different, I wanted a culture shock, and I was ready for it. So that's why I chose Susquehanna.
Thank you. Who's next, Kevin or Brooke?
I can go. So like James, I'm from the New York City area. I'm actually from Westchester County, and I knew that long term I wanted to stay in the New York area. All my siblings are here, all my extended family's here, all my relationships are here. So I at least wanted to try somewhere different, and I really liked the idea of trying out Central Pennsylvania. It was a different experience for me, and I had heard really good things from people that I know that had gone to school in the area, and Susquehanna was kind of like a hidden gem for me. I didn't realize how much I appreciated it until I visited it. I found it on a Naviance, I think was the database, and I wound up liking it on paper. And I remember I went to the university during the spring and instantly fell in love with how gorgeous of a campus it is. Still look at pictures sometimes, and I'm like, wow, I had the opportunity to go here. This is insane. And I just remember vividly walking around that campus on a Saturday morning at 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning. And the tour guide who was showing me around, literally we could not go more than 2 minutes without that tour guide seeing someone they knew on a Saturday morning. And it was such a welcoming campus, from the professional staff in the admissions office to the students, who, when you are in an environment where people are just constantly so friendly, it felt absolutely at home. And from the second I arrived on campus to the second I left, I couldn't get enough. And that was really like a big thing for me, is having a small university with small class sizes where I knew I learned best, um, combined with a very homey, friendly setting was the ultimate combination for me. And I knew that Susquehanna was right from the second I left the campus.
So for me, I am a little bit different, not from New York. I'm from central Pennsylvania. So when I was looking for schools, I basically took out a map, drew an hour radius, and those are the only schools I was going to look at because I have a younger sister. She's actually a senior in high school, who's now looking for her undergrad university right now. But I wanted to be able to be there and be able to go home when she had her volleyball games and be able to be there when she had different things going on at school and that type of thing. So I wanted to be drivable in like a Wednesday evening or something like that. So yeah, so I had a list of roughly 6 schools, I think, within my radius. And I saved Susquehanna for the very end because I was being very stubborn and my mom wanted me to go to Susquehanna. So I said I didn't want to go to Susquehanna. So I saved it for the end, went to all the other schools, and I went to every school and I was like, this is okay, but this isn't right. I don't know. This isn't right. And I got really sad because all I had left was Susquehanna and I knew I didn't want to go there because my mom said she wanted me to go there. So anyways, I was all pouty the whole drive and we finally get to Susquehanna and I put my smile on. I'm like, all right, let's get through this tour and make my mom happy. But about halfway through the tour, I turned to my mom and I was like, this is it. It felt like home. Much like Kevin, my tour guide literally said hi to every person that she passed. And I was like, that's just incredible. Like, she may not even know their names, but people are just happy. Everyone's smiling. People are saying hi. That's the type of environment that I wanted. I didn't want to be in like a competitive, tense environment. I wanted to be able to make friends and really enjoy 4 years of my life. So that's kind of what sold me on Susquehanna. I think it's kind of a funny story because I went a complete 180 from wanting to spite my mom to absolutely loving it, being a tour guide, and now trying to sell it to everybody else because it really is an awesome place. It is a hidden gem. It, like I said, was within an hour drive, but I hadn't really heard much about it, just that my mom wanted me to go there. So yeah, it's definitely a special place.
Thank you all so much. And we are getting close to running out of time. So I'm going to ask our guests if you have any last questions you want our panelists to answer, please enter them in the chat now. If there's a question you'd prefer to ask one of them offline, you can reach out to your admissions counselor, and all 3 of our panelists have been willing to engage with you via email after the panel as well. So as we get ready to conclude, we've talked about a lot, and I think you've shared a lot of great information. What question haven't I asked you that you think is really important for a potential student to know or think about in terms of their decision-making process for whether or not Susquehanna is the right place for them? What's something else you want people on this panel to know today about Susquehanna or your experience at SU?
That's a good one.
I can go. The one thing that I think we haven't talked about that's really unique to Susquehanna, and I think that all of these panelists can agree was one of their favorite times, is the Go Abroad experience. So Susquehanna is unique in that it requires you to study abroad before you graduate, although abroad is kind of a loose term. You can study within the United States. A couple of my friends studied in Hawaii and had a really great time there. And you can also have the choice of studying long or studying short. So that basically means, do you go a whole semester or do you just go for a few weeks? Which the semester option sounded great to me, but for me personally, with a double major, double minor, intending to go to medical school, it was a little too much for me to also commit to a semester. So instead I decided to go on one of the longest go short. So I went for a month over the summer, and I went to Morocco and Spain, which was a pretty cool experience. In Spain, I actually got to take, because I was there for 3 weeks, I took a course in Spanish about biomedical terms. So how do you say I broke my arm in Spanish and that type of thing, And while I was there, I got to live with a host family, which was also really cool because I really got to live the experience and see what it'd be like to go to school in a different country. And like I said, I was abroad total for a month. Morocco is a much different country than the United States, and it was a really cool experience to be able to be there, ride camels and all of that. And then also spend 3 weeks in Spain and be able to see what it was like to live in Spain. I think that experience really changed me for the better. It really taught me that I want to travel. I want to explore the world. I think that's part of the reason why I'm in West Virginia right now. I just keep wanting to like go different places and see different things and meet new people and that type of thing. So yeah, that was probably one of my favorite things outside of the Susquehanna traditions that I don't think we've talked about yet.
Thank you so much. Who's next? Something we haven't talked about and something you think is important for these prospective students to know. James?
Hey, I'm still thinking. That was a good one. I'm surprised we didn't talk about the study abroad the whole time. I think just a point of advice, to give you guys when making a decision is kind of sit down and it sounds cliche, but kind of you don't have to write it down on the list, but think to yourself about what are you trying to accomplish. College is a place where not only you excel or you expect to excel academically, but you also grow as a person. You grow into an adult. You meet, a lot of people that you'll know for the rest of your life. You want to take the setting into account. You want to take all of the opportunities that Susquehanna offers, whether it's jobs, whether it's certain majors, whether it's the study abroad program. Just take into account everything that Susquehanna offers and see, if they're in line with, everything you look to grow in those next 4 years. Because they say a lot of times, college flies by, 4 years, the best 4 years of your life, but it goes by fast. And, when I used to hear that, I used to be like, nah, whatever, like college, it's never going to end. You just think you're invincible. But to be honest, like I think back on it and, sometimes I just remember being 16, and now I'm 24 and it's like, where'd the time go, and it's like college just really just flies by like that. So you want to go to a place where, you can make the most of it. And I would say like, if I had a chance to do it all over again, honestly, like some of the hardest times in my life was at Susquehanna, but also some of the best times in my life, and I think that's what helped mold me into the person I am now. And I kind of like, the person I am now and where I'm going. And I think that without Susquehanna, I don't know what could have, turned out, but I'm happy with what I'm doing now. So basically just taking into account what they can do to better you as a person. And I think Susquehanna being very family oriented, being, student first, like we all said, everyone knows you, knows your name, they know your face, they know what you're a part of, they know what you're like. They know the individual, so I think something like that is what's gonna Susquehanna being a small pond in a sense, you really get to build and forge those genuine and authentic relationships. And so I definitely think take that into account when making your decision.
How about you, Kevin? Anything to add?
I think everything that Brooke and James said is incredibly important. I think it is a great place to really figure out who you are. There are so many opportunities and experiences. It really is like a choose your own journey at Susquehanna. There's pretty much anything you want to do. It's achievable, and the university will help you get there. Looking back, I grew so much in those 4 years, and it's really shaped me into the attorney that I'm going to be today, even though I had no clue what law school was like. I had no clue what the practice of law was like. There are experiences that were outside my field that Susquehanna gave me that apply to work all the time. It's where I developed the work ethic that's gotten me as far as I have. And it's where I've developed a lot of the connections that have kept me sane for the last 3 years of law school and all 4 years of college that, I still talk to my friends every day, every week. And I think those connections of reminding you who you are and becoming who you are is super important. So when you're making this decision, trust yourself. No one knows you better than you, even though sometimes you doubt yourself. That's part of the process. Trust your gut, and then you can make the right decision for yourself. I can't say that enough. Trust yourself.
See, someone had asked if you can remember what was your least favorite thing about SU. To be honest, I would just say those ginkgo berries. They fall from the trees and they smell foul. But if you could endure that, you can endure anything. But yeah, that's what I would say. That's my answer.
Thank you so much, James, because I saw that question come in and I was like, well,
Yeah.
we're really running out of time.
Yeah.
So berries is probably the one thing, right?
Yeah, for real. That's crazy. That's crazy.
It's an experience that definitely solidifies everybody's experience at Susquehanna, and you never forget the smell of a ginkgo berry, especially if it's stuck to the bottom of your shoe and you're in a small classroom where everyone's giving you the side eye, right?
All right, that's crazy.
So I really want to thank our panelists because you all shared just so many amazing experiences with our prospective students and families who were able to join us today. And were very forthright as well about your personal experiences as students and what you did outside of the classroom. Some of our panelists are adding their thanks right now in the chat. But I really wanted to thank you. And again, tell our guests, if you have further questions, please feel free to follow up with your admissions counselor who can put you in touch with any of our panelists. And in the meantime, just want to thank Brooke and Kevin and James for taking time out of their day and their busy careers as young alums who have achieved in great capacity for joining us today. So thank you all so very much. And for our prospective students, best of luck as you make a really hard but really important decision. We hope to see you in the fall wearing the orange and maroon. So take care, everybody. We want to say goodbye and thank you again.